It is no secret that the modern day video game industry is dying, and the big question on many a person's mind is, how do we save it? And frankly, that's a stupid question because the answer is oh so obvious. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and yes, if you haven't seen this brilliant article from Polygon, 2 ways to save a video game industry on fire. Video games have never been easier to make. That's the challenge. Look, normally we go over articles as we do on this channel. We sit here, we go through, we analyze it. A lot of times we make fun of it because modern day games journalists are morons. But this one kind of takes the cake because it is such an easy answer, but nobody wants to actually address the legitimate problem because it is an affront to their sensibilities and modern day ideologies. So yeah, we're not going to go over this whole thing. We're really going to only focus on this opening statement here and maybe the end of it before I just start ranting a bit about my thoughts on this matter. So before we get into any of that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day, and this initial statement is baffling. Let's start with a spoonful of sugar. Making a video game is faster, cheaper, and easier today than it has been at any point in history. That is so objectively wrong, at least when it comes to cheaper. Now, in theory, it could be cheaper. Look at all the free assets out there. Look at all the sharing avenues that we have in terms of development kits and all these indie products that let you just, hey, you can download for free. Unreal Engine is free. You can always recoup your costs on the back end. Yes, in theory, it should be cheaper, but I want to let you guys know. Super Mario Bros. 3, which came out in 1988. Do you know how much that cost to develop? The game cost $800,000 to develop. Now, granted, that's 1988, so don't worry about doing the inflation math. Your boy did it for you. I understand. It just takes some big brains to do that sort of work. I went ahead and did the inflation calculation for you guys. That is just a little over $2 million. $2,091,000 to be exact, or at least as close to exact as we can get. Super Mario Bros. 3, one of the most lauded platformers of all time, often considered the greatest 2D Mario of all time. Its only competition usually is Super Mario World, the game that came initially after it. 1988, guys! $2 million, 1988, and it is still being played to this day. It is still held up to this day. It has been re-released God knows how many times because multiple generations of individuals have played it. Super Mario Bros. 3 is not just a game that, the old heads play. No, people introduce their children to old school 2D Mario, and they love it. Now, that's a very easy example, but when they say video games nowadays are cheaper than ever, then why was Ubisoft recently bragging that Star Wars Outlaws was their most expensive game of all time? And now look where it is. Star Wars Outlaws has been maligned by gamers the world over. Frankly, it's been maligned by a lot of these game journalists, these activist types, and they're just trying to go easy on it and prop it up because if they hit it too hard, it goes against their narrative. It's kind of insane to me that you can say and think you're being intellectually honest with yourselves and with your audience that making a video game is faster, cheaper, and easier than it has been at any point in history. Yeah, again, faster and easier, I'll definitely give you that. But cheaper, that's not the case because these studios are hiring hundreds, if not thousands of individuals, having them all work on a game, which is ballooning the budget of these games, budgets they're never going to recoup even if they sell well. I mean, if we were to look at the overhead of, profit for, again, Super Mario Bros. 3 compared to Star Wars Outlaws, yeah, I don't even need to fact check it. Very obviously, Mario has made more money. So, what do we do? How do we fix this? Well, near the bottom of the article, because he goes on to wax philosophical about the AAA death cycle and what's going on in the indie scene, and frankly, it's just a lot of poetic words to try and make you feel good and reminisce about, the glory days of the industry and how bad the corporate suits up top are because these individuals absolutely hate capitalism. Oh man, it's always the suit's fault. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of instances where it's the suit's fault. I mean, Xbox literally axed Tango Gameworks. That is arguably the dumbest decision that they could have possibly made, considering in an era filled with awful AAA games, the internet banded together to buy and show love to Hi-Fi Rush, which is the sleeper hit of 2023. Not a single soul on this earth that played that game didn't fall in love with it. And what did that game do differently than a bunch of other games today? Well, for one, it came out in sort of a AA budget with AA marketing and a AA style, but it felt like a goddamn video game. It didn't have the best graphics, it didn't have the longest story, it didn't have the most intricate control scheme. No, if anything, it sort of felt like old school PlayStation 1 and 2 games, and that's, oddly enough, why everyone liked it. But before we even get to his thoughts on, how to fix the industry, which we will be at the bottom, let's take a look at a couple things. I got the Steam, Steam charts up. Devil May Cry HD Collection. Guys, this game came out in 2012. As of 40 minutes ago, there were almost 200 people playing it. 200 people playing a game that has been out for 12 years. In the last 24 hours, it's been a little over 200, 225. What about, hey, let's go back even further. Sonic Adventure 2, a game that came out in 2001. Almost 500 people, and in the last 24-hour peak, even closer to 500. 453 just an hour ago. 498 in the last 24-hour. This game is from 2001. Like it's old enough to drink at this point. Why are people going back and playing this game as opposed to a lot of the modern games that are coming out and getting hype and then outright failing again, like Star Wars Outlaws, like Concord? All right, what about Fallout 3? Oh, almost 600 in the past 24 hours, over 700. Team Fortress 2 came out in 2007. 45,000 people playing. Now, to be fair, Team Fortress 2 is a multiplayer game that, while it has been out since 2007, has been getting consistent updates, has been able to maintain a player base. It does have some of that microtransaction stuff that a lot of games have, but it gets away with it because they respect their audience, they respect they cater to actual gamers. Or, you know what about the individuals who aren't having this issue? China doesn't seem to be having this issue. Genshin Impact, Zenless Zone Zero, and the other big one from MiHoYo are all doing excellent. Black Myth Wukong came out and just crushed it. What about Nintendo? Nintendo is still doing things the traditional way, and they are nailing it. You're not seeing any of these development issues and financial issues coming from Nintendo. Now, we have in the past because, Nintendo is very hit or miss in terms of, hey, they go through the motions of trying to innovate. They'll do things like the Wii U, which is a complete failure. But you know what? The Wii killed it. The DS, DS was pretty good. 3DS, also, we're in the ballpark. People are loving it. People are playing it. Granted, that thing's going to sell anyway because people just love playing Pokemon. But the fact of the matter is, yes, Nintendo's gone through hits and misses. The GameCube was technically a miss. But guess what? There are still thousands upon thousands of people playing Super Smash Bros. Melee. Now, we can't look at Steam charts for that. It's not on Steam. But you know what we do have? We do have EVO tournament data. EVO, the largest fighting game tournament in the world. Melee has not been an EVO since 2019. 2019 was the last year. However, 2015, 16, 17, 18, and 19, it had over 2,000 entries every year. That means another game that came out in 2001, much like Sonic Adventure 2, a game that came out in 2001 had over 2,000 entries into the largest video game tournament scene in the world. All people vying to come out on top, get that prize money for a game that's older than probably some of the individuals in my audience watching this video. Like, do you realize how wild it is? If these companies like Nintendo or like the ones out of China aren't having these issues, that means it's not actually a problem with the games themselves. It's a problem with the industry. It's a problem with the people behind the scenes. It's a problem with whether it be the suits, like the article was trying to say, but also a problem with the developers, people that can't make games competently. How many videos have we seen in the last 48 to 36 hours of people playing Outlaws and it just being a glitchy, buggy mess? What about every single AAA game that on release is completely bugged out, and sometimes it doesn't load properly, the game crashes? Star Wars Outlaws is another example. People that got the game early on PlayStation ended up needing to effectively redo their entire save file because of an update patch that came out. Again, Concord, we already know that. We talked about Concord in a video earlier today. Concord is dead and hopefully never coming back. They are not giving the customer, the gamers, what they want. So to go back to the initial question being, how do we actually fix video games? 2 ways to save video games. It's really simple, guys. Make games for gamers. Quit making walking simulators. Quit trying to do things that have to do with any sort of modern day politics, be it left or right. Quit trying to find this mythical modern audience. Quit trying to make games for everyone, because when you try and please everyone, you're gonna please no one. And maybe take a look and just, hey, what's a hyper-focused core audience that's going to want to spend $70, $80, $90 on these games? And let's develop for them. And let's do it really well with a handful of developers. Let's give it a nice, cool, few $1,000,000 budget. Let's take it back to the PS2 era. Maybe go as far as the PS3, but let's hover around that PS1, 2, 3 era of how games were developed back then. Make it quick, concise, make it, I don't know, an 8-hour game, and then focus on replayability. Throw some multiplayer in there, do some multiplayer games, or have some multiplayer game modes, whatever it may be. Point is, focus on aspects that cater to it being a video game. Not every video game needs to be some just amazing artistic experience. I get it. I played Shadows of the Colossus when it came out. Shadows of the Colossus was truly one of the moments that made people go, wow, you mean video games can be art too? And that's awesome. But not every game needs to be that. Yeah, Last of Us 2, last I checked, is one of the most divisive games in history. But hey, at least it was a big, nice, artistic, expressive game. Though no one gives a shit about that. People are going back. 500 people right now as I make this video are playing Sonic Adventure 2. A game that came out 21 years ago. Maybe that should tell you something. Yes, that does not seem like a lot of people, but that is still 500 people that would rather play something from 21 years ago that came out on the Sega Dreamcast, a console they probably didn't even own because it was sold so poorly it put Sega out of the console market. More people would rather go back and play that than play Concord, than play Star Wars Outlaws, than play any of these modern AAA games, definitely than play Dustborn, which we also saw just get absolutely kneecapped, deservedly so. The answer to how to save the gaming industry is very, very easy. Cater to gamers, do it on a very median budget, and just make the games fun. You know, Melanie Mack said something on Twitter several months ago. She said, I miss the days when cutscenes used to feel like a reward. Yeah, I miss that too. Jak and Daxter, which also came out in 2001, you play through, the vast majority of that game is gameplay. And then when you get cutscenes, they're 1 minute to 2 minutes long. They give you some story stuff, and you're like, wow, I've progressed far enough in the game to get a cutscene. That feels good. And then you get right back into playing the game. It was simple. Gamers haven't actually changed. As much as the technology has changed, as much as, oh, everything is still pretty now, the core foundations of what gamers actually love haven't changed, and we don't need some X amount of paragraph long think piece from Polygon, 2 ways to save the video game industry on fire, when the answer is so obvious I can sum it up just ranting off the top of my head in a 13-minute video while spending a lot of time reminiscing about better games that I would rather be playing, like Resident Evil 2. I'm not talking about that crappy remake, I'm talking about the original Resident Evil 2. And you want to know what's the most fun I've had gaming lately? It's been an indie game called Crow Country that does nothing but emulate the old school 90s era of horror games. When I'm done making this video, I'm probably gonna go play that. So yeah, that's how you save the video game industry. Fucking make games for gamers and stop trying to make things for everybody. It's not hard, and do it cheap. But those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X, where you can find me at Bolt the Word. And please do subscribe. I'm a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day. Not always about the video game industry, but anime, movies, music, Magic the Gathering, you name it. Check me out on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon, and become a member for $4.99 a month. You can join the Discord, choose the articles I go over on a day-to-day basis, choose the videos I react to on my Friday night live streams, and of course get involved with over 80 other vital idols. We are a bright, beautiful, glowing, vibrant community that I cannot wait to grow even further, because we do care about diversity. But only one kind of diversity of thought. If that's interesting to you, join the Discord, hit subscribe, and until next time, it is all here in the Nerdosphere. This has been Words of Paradise.